Hello, and welcome to another one of my what ifs. This one, I don't believe, I've never actually seen anything like this what if that I'm about to make. And you might be wondering, why? Well, because similar what ifs like that have Izuku being abandoned, or Izuku, being betrayed and all that stuff. But this one takes a different spin on it. Now, you might be thinking, oh, what do you mean by that? I'm not saying that, that's what you sound like, but pretty much you're kind of wondering. What I mean by that is, see, all of those have a reasoning for why Izuku. This came because just because he had the bad end of you could say he got the short end of a stick, you could say. Like, when you pick straws, he got the shortest one in the pick. But it's kind of like a foldable straw, you could think. Like one of those that are really small but can become really long. Because, first off, his quirk is horrible when you think about it, like, personality-wise. But power-wise, my god, you're in for a frickin' monster. Now, why don't we just get into what I mean by that? Now, this, I'm not really sure what I'm going to call this yet. I'm probably just going to call it, what if Izuku was a dark entity, you could say. Let me see this. Dark entity. Ooh, there we go. Jeez, freaking cables. Oh, there's a movie. Now, he's not going to be like this scary person or anything. It's just that he looks scary. I mean, he practically is scary. Ooh, I could use this for either way. I will. Oh, that's what it's called. Cool. The best thing is about this, I have 2 more days of school, and that might mean I'm not going to have that much homework, because they're not really going to, like, drown you with it. They're not that type of school, and that's why I love it. Yes, I am drinking a soda, as I do in some of my videos. It's my form of hydration other than water. And no, I haven't had a single cavity in my entire 14 years of living. Only my brother has, for practically every single year. He's like when you go to the dentist and there's that big board with all the names of people? He's been up there for 12, well, not really 12, let's see. 8 or 9 consecutive years. And he brushes his teeth more than I do. That's what's crazy. The only thing that's bad about my teeth is all the plaque, you could say. Yeah, anyway, off topic, I know. I'm going to explain Izuku's quirk and its powers, and what happened when he actually got it, when it manifested. Now, Izuku's quirk allows him to practically become a god. The only downside is that throughout history, like how I'm going to make this, is he's always seen as this devilish person that tries to sway people into becoming his minions. But really, he just wants to help people. It's only that they twist it. Some people do see him as a good person. Most people, really. The only people that don't are, you could say, like, people that believe in the... Okay, I don't know this. In this universe, the people who worship demonic things really just only in this universe, really, just in this universe, I'm not saying in real life, worship Izuku because of how he's been through history. Only because of the good he's brought and that he hasn't taken anything like he doesn't get anything back. But the other people, the people that believe in God and stuff, think of him as the devil trying to manipulate people by giving them gifts and stuff. He even gives them gifts and just, like, he'll walk into the church, a place that no devil should be able to walk into, put down a boat, like a gigantic, like, chest of money that he just made out of thin air, open it up, push it towards them, and then just walk out. They'll still think he's a devil. Even though during the time period that I'm going to put this, corruption in the church as well as bribery was a big thing, and I'm learning about that right now. And well, it was like at least a month ago that I learned about it in history. Really interesting though, because the original Catholic Church was way more like the John Wick type of thing than the church that we know today. But that was only, actually no, it wasn't only the Roman Catholic Church, but it was mostly the Roman Catholic Church. Anyway, let's get back to it. Now, what happened when Izuku got his quirk originally, during the same time period that he was born and stuff. So the weird thing about him is that his quirk's a mutation quirk, but it's still got properties of a just a regular type of quirk. Now when he was born, he was just like this dark phantomish entity. He was completely black, like his entire silhouette black. His eyes were like whiter than white. They were practically like pure white, you could say. Purer than pure white. That's how white they were. Really weird. But anyway, now, immediately once he was born, everybody felt this presence. They were like, this kid's a god. But the problem with having a kid who has the powers of a god, well, almost the powers of a god, practically par and par with God himself, is that when people find out about this, they want to use him for himself. Like most of my what ifs, they want to use him for their own doing. And I love these type of what ifs because it's usually what I think about. I think about like the nitty gritty type of heroes that went through hell to become what they are today. Same thing with Izuku. Now, the first people that tried to actually use him to their advantage was a terrorist organization. They didn't get to him. The Japanese military was able to get to him first, and they were able to fight off the attack. In the ensuing in the battle, Mrs. Midoriya was able to get away, but she couldn't get to her son, and so the U.S. not the U.S. Jeez, I'm as most of my viewers probably are. I'm from the United States of frickin' America, so I usually am used to saying, oh, it's the U.S. Army and stuff. But it's the Japanese Army. I don't really know what they're called. They swoop in, they're able to take him, they bring him back to their base, and then the entire thing is just wiped off, clean from anything. News outlets, gone in a flash. Newspapers, burned before they were even able to get out of the factory. Pictures, hacked into the people's phones and deleted everything. They practically wanted to make sure that it seemed like this kid died in the act of everything happening. So what they did was they had a person that could make a clone of people, kind of like a twice, but they didn't think for themselves. So they made a clone of Izuku, and because nobody's actually seen what he's looked like, they made it look like the original Izuku. Now this Izuku is actually going to grow up. Now his quirk is actually going to be kind of different because of how, because Izuku has the ability to have any power because he's practically a god. So the clone Izuku, you could say, has a type of dark matter quirk, like dark entity quirk. They're still going to call it dark entity, but the difference is that he's only able to make things out of like the shadows and stuff. So he's always got to he's really good at night missions. Day missions, he's really good whenever it's near like a gigantic building because of how many shadows it casts, like the big shadow. The bigger the shadow, the more powerful the thing is. So like if it was like your own shadow, it's not going to be that powerful. But if it was like the dead of night, because there's no sunlight, he will become practically unstoppable. The only person that could actually stop him is Izuku or All Might, as well as Eraserhead. Jeez, I forgot his name. Anyway, is that clone Izuku grows up and becomes. We're just going to say that he grows up. He's able to go through everything. He's become a really good student in UA. But now we're going to go back to Izuku before all that happens. Izuku's taken back to the base. They study him. They find out that they're able to actually use his power and siphon it off. So they put him in like an egg-shaped thing, just like how the Dark Matter one. No, not the Dark Matter. That was another one that I don't think I actually made yet. But they put him in like this egg-shaped container to kind of siphon off his powers. Or not really siphon off his powers, like draw the energy from him that is practically infinite. So they got like a constant flow of energy. And so they're able to kind of power their entire operations. Now, along with finding out how to make infinite amount of energy, they also find out that they're able to make new types of weapons from him. Things like plasma blasters and all that stuff, and everything like that. And because, you know, it's in My Hero Academia universe where everybody's kind of connected and stuff, the rest of the world kind of gets in on this, and they're like, oh, how do you do this? And they're like, oh, we kind of, and they just make up a lie saying that they found a way to draw power from this type of black hole that formed somewhere. Now they want to see it, and they show them Izuku, but to them it only looks like an actual black hole. They don't really question it. Except for the United States, because they're like, how the heck were you able to contain it? And they're like, well, we have a guy who's able to do that. They actually do. That's how they're able to, if Izuku has any, what is that? Whoa. You guys see that? That's only me from moving my finger on the screen. Probably because I'm pushing it down. I thought it was special. Oh, that is not what I wanted to do. Oh no. Oh, thank God. Anyway, so for the next, 10 years, Izuku's like that. And they're like, hey, things have been kind of getting dicey since All for One's kind of showed up and stuff. Maybe we should start training this kid so that he's able to use his powers against him. So Izuku, after a while, probably like another 10 years, is able to fully master his powers. And you might be asking, aren't you making him pretty old, like 20 years old? Well, I am. That's kind of the point. Now, because Izuku's been able to find out how to do all this stuff, he's also been able to hide some powers from them because he's able to think that they know that all of his powers. But really, Izuku to them is like it's like a baseball. No, a tennis ball. Yeah. You got this outer shell, pretty thick, and then you got this inner shell that's thin, but still thick enough that it's able to withstand itself. Now, for them, they've already kind of cracked through the first layer, and they're starting to crack through the second layer, but they don't see anything in there, so they think that they've already reached, the middle, like they've already reached the peak of Izuku's powers. But really, he's like a jawbreaker. You get through one and another and another and another. It's like he doesn't even stop because you can't really get to the middle. They're still on the first layer, really. But they think they're on the last layer, or the second layer. That's how powerful he is. And if you think of a jawbreaker, they got multiple layers. Nobody really knows, if you were to, cut it open and stuff. Yeah, but like there's different types with like thinner and thinner layers, and you get my point. He's like a really complicated person. But like I said, they think that they've understood all of his powers, but they don't. And when Izuku got the chance, he was able to kind of look back on his backstory, like on his past with one of his. He practically has the powers of a god, so he's able to time travel, manipulate reality. He's got any power he wants, so super strength, super durability, all that shazazz, like all of the shebang and stuff. So if I just randomly pull power out of my ass, it's because he's a god. He doesn't really abide the laws of physics and genetics, so he's able to, if he wanted to, he could legit have all for one, just like in a blink. That's it. Like you blink, he's got it. He doesn't take it from the person, he just makes it. He's able to give it to somebody. He never does because he doesn't think that's a good idea, because then they'll try and figure out how to do that and constantly get a source of new powers and stuff from him so that they can have an army of nomus, really. And so Zuko, after finding out about his backstory and how, once they figured out how powerful he was, two big things attacked his home: a terrorist organization and the Japanese army. The Japanese army was the successful one, and in Izuku's place they put a dummy, or a clone. And Izuku was really mad about this. So before he left to go back in time, he wanted to go back to when he was a kid. He went a little too far. He completely annihilates the entire area that the base he was kept out is, and that's a gigantic place. And so before he leaves, all these heroes come and they're like, "Stop it right there, villain." And he's like, "The only ones who were villains were these guys. They took me from my family. They used my power to do all this." And I'm not saying it's bad, but I was only a kid, barely even 1 year old when they did this. You think that's really okay for somebody to do? And so they're like, "Wait, that's really?" He's like, "Yeah. There might be some information left. Go check, but I'm going back in time to when I was still a kid." But when he does it, when Izuku actually goes back in time, he doesn't go back to when he was a kid because he doesn't actually have a good grasp on that power, even though he practically had an infinite amount of time to do it. He just never decided to. This was his actual first test run. Instead, it put him back to the dawn of man, back before we were even Homo sapiens, practically chimpanzees, you could say. And so he was like, crap. But then, when he was there, he met the actual God, because of course there's an actual, like, how about this? In this universe, there's a God. But not only is there, like, the Christian God and all that stuff, there's, like, the God from every religion, and they all came together to actually make everything. And so, each God probably had a planet, or, like, a part of the world and stuff like that. Who knows? I'm just putting stuff out there. This is just what this universe is. And so they all teach him how to do this stuff, and so he practically becomes a new god. And so he becomes immortal and also, impervious to anything. And so they're like, "How about this? You become the first type of god to actually go down." So he takes the role of Jesus, but instead of going into the, like, whatever year he was, like, I think it was, I know I'm not Catholic or anything, so I'm not really sure when. I'm not really sure about this stuff because I only went to church about, like, 3 times. Ooh, December 25th. Oh, of course it was. Ooh, look at this. But nobody really knows exactly when Jesus was born. Some scholars think that he was born between 6 BC and 4 BC, based partly on biblical story of Herod the Great? Is that Herod? Herod? I don't know. Herod, probably. So, Jesus, born 6 BC to 4 BC. Izuku, way before that. millions of years. Yes, it takes even longer than that for actual, like, I mean, not really, but still, it takes a long time for evolution to occur. So Izuku goes back, and he's the first actual depiction of a god. And so instead of them actually looking up to Jesus, they look up to Izuku, and then above him is God. So they look up to Izuku, and then from Izuku they look up to God. So, like, it's kind of like a tower. They're at the bottom, they look up to Izuku, Izuku looks up to God, God and Izuku both look down to the monkeys, you could say. So they believe in, like, two gods, you could say. They believe in Izuku, the one that brings them things and helps them with everything, and the God, the one that kind of helps Earth move on through the ages. So Izuku is kind of like the embodiment of change, or not really. Izuku's like the embodiment of physical change, and God's the embodiment of type of mental and spiritual change. So Izuku will kind of help God, and, like, so Izuku, physical change, God, mental and spiritual change, but together it's like a combination. They change everything together. Jeez, I spent 20 minutes just explaining the story and stuff. That's probably that's what most of my part ones are about. Most of my what ifs are just me rambling and stuff. I sometimes get off topic because that's just who I am. I have a really hard time focusing on stuff. My dad had the same problem, so he takes pills. Not like the drug type of pills, like the over the counter pills, like prescription drugs. It really helps him. So, like, he was putting up the lights. We did this type of Grinch decoration where, like, half the lights were on, and then the Grinch looked like he was tearing them down and stuff, like he does in the movies. And my dad, was like, so he took the pill, and then he didn't stop doing it until it was done. So that's just what the pills do. For me, I could use them. I don't, because I don't think my thing's that bad. You guys might think different, but potato. Anyway, so Izuku and God were the first two depicted gods throughout history. For other countries, they still depicted Izuku, but they depicted their other gods. So Izuku would be the god of, like, something else for each of them. For some, he might be the one of prosperity, others the one of health, creation, like anything. Different ones for different things. But all in all, he's like the god of gods, because for everybody, he has a different purpose in each type of religion. But all the other gods have a singular purpose, no matter what religion it was. So Zuko is practically like God, but God, if you get what I mean. You probably don't, but still. Now, throughout the years, they depict him and stuff. The only ones that actually changed him from being something good to something bad is the Roman Catholic Church, because they hated change. Like, they really wanted to stop, what was it? Oh yeah, they hated humanism. Practically what helped art and so if humanism didn't happen, like, not really, but, like, if humanism didn't happen that early, computers and stuff might not be this advanced, because because things started to get like things like medicine and like Da Vinci and stuff like that came from humanism. So Izuku was everybody's type of humanism. So to Da Vinci and all those people that wanted change, they looked up to Izuku. The church looked down at Izuku, thinking that he was the devil, even though in so many, like, old paintings they saw Izuku and God working with each other. They just thought that after a while, God thought that Izuku was, changing too much. So he cast him aside. But really, God kept pushing him on. He practically gave Izuku full control over the human race, really, and God just went on to another planet and to do practically the same thing with another person. Not really another person, but you get what I mean. No, I'm not on soda. I let that taste go away. Then I wanted something a little bit more smooth, but still, you could say, flavorful. So I switched over to the chocolate milk that I showed in one of my other videos, the Horizon? Horizon. Yeah, Horizon. Is it? Give me a second. Yes, I'm searching this up. Google Translate. I don't have any speakers. I don't know why I don't. What's this? Show me this. See what that does. Horizon. That did nothing. Come here, my tangled oh, that's easy. It's over on my bed. My bed's not that far away. It's at least 3? I don't know. Yeah, maybe 3 feet away. Get the fuck in there. Let's hear this. Yes, it's Horizon. Okay. I spent like 2 to 3 minutes just trying to figure out how to say Horizon. Anyway, yeah, this entire first part's just going to be the explanation, and then part 2 is really going to fully get into the story about what Izuku does and everything. This was more of like a setting up the story and stuff. Kind of like what, give me a second, I should tell you. Kind of like what, Kirosho, Maniku. I'll just spell it out just in case you guys want to search it up. K-I-R-U-S-H-O space M-I-N-I-K-U. That's how I spell Kirosho Maniku. And that's usually the one that, as well as other ones that I'm not really subscribed to, but they're also kind of cool. But I get a lot of my inspiration from other people's videos, and I kind of just do a different outcome, but it kind of keeps the same type of story. Like, the meta, there's plentiful of those, but the only difference is that, in mine, it takes a little bit of a turn. So yeah, that's kind of like the only difference. And that's for a few other ones, but not for all of them. Like the Dark Matter one, I haven't seen a single one of those. This one, haven't seen a single one. So you know, a lot of mine are kind of different in ways, but they kind of keep the same story. Now, this video is about to reach the usual type of time of 30 minutes, but I kind of want to keep it at maybe 29 or 28. So I'm going to leave it off here, and I will see y'all in part 2. That's probably coming tomorrow afternoon. Bye.